Welcome. I'm Pamela Rickia from livingjoyfully.ca, and today I'm here with Alex Polikowsky. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Pam. It's nice seeing you again.
So nice to see you too. And just to let people know, Alex was on the podcast just a bit over 3 years ago now. And
Has it been that long?
It really, really has.
That's crazy.
I know. And I'll put the link in the show notes for people if they want to go back and listen. But recently, a listener went back to that episode and posted a comment about how much she enjoyed it. And she mentioned that she'd love to hear an update. And I thought that was an amazing idea. So thank you very much for the inspiration, Ashley. And to get us started, Alex, just like a quick little overview for people, can you share with us a bit about you and your family?
Sure. So we are a family of 4, and we live in a working dairy farm in Minnesota. I have now a 17-year-old son, Daniel, and a 13-year-old daughter, Gigi. And we live out in the country, but it's really close to town. So when people hear about it, they think you live all the way in the country. But I really just live like 5 miles from town. So I get the best of both worlds. I'm out in the country, but we're also in town. I am from Brazil. My husband is a Minnesotan farmer. And we met online on a dating site. I did live in North Carolina, so I could fly over here and meet him in person. And we've been unschooling since the beginning. I started reading about unschooling through Jen Hunt from the Natural Child Project when my son was probably like 6 months old. And I had no idea. I didn't know what unschooling was. And I really didn't have an idea. But it sounded wonderful because I was already doing that kind of attachment parenting naturally when I found out about attachment parenting. And then when my son was about 2 years old, I found the discussions online, Yahoo groups.
Yeah.
And that's when I, with time and discussions and reading about it and meeting so many wonderful people, I've learned what was unschooling and how it worked and all that.
Yeah, that's spectacular. And I love that piece too about being rural and close to the city because, it took us a while to find this spot, so with 5 acres and some conservation land and 10 minutes away from a large enough city that, that meets
it's
like
wonderful.
5% of our needs. So yeah, it works out well, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, I guess if the whole family is very introverted and they don't like town and they live out in the country very far away, it might work. But when you're unschooling and you want to open up the world to your kids and bring them out, even if they're introverted, they still have that access. And it's just hard. I think that we're in the middle ground that we can run both ways.
Yeah, that's great.
It helps.
Yeah. So in the last episode, you talked with us about Gigi's school experience. She chose to go for a few months when she was 9, so she went to grade 4. And you told us that she really enjoyed it at first. She satisfied her curiosity about it. And then eventually, a few months in, she found that she didn't have enough time outside of school to pursue all her interests. So I thought we'd start there. If you could share a bit about what some of those interests were and the things that she dove into over the next couple of years.
Sure. And I'm not going to go back and say everything because it's in the first podcast. If you want to learn what her thought process and why she went and you can go back and listen to that. And Pam, I'm sure, is going to post a link to it. But she was really big in baking. It actually, from that age on, as soon as she quit school, she was back to her cows. So we have dairy cows hostings, and Gigi, when she was 8 years old, bought her first jersey with the money she made from working at the farm that her dad paid her. The farm paid her, actually. And since then, she has a little herd of jerseys.
Yeah.
She has 5 cows, and the young stock, she might have like 10. She's got about 15 animals.
Wow.
And she wanted to be with the cows all the time and wanted to be working. And she loves to read, and she wanted time to read, and not the books necessarily that she's a voracious reader. And she started at that time to bake. And that was a huge passion. And she's not baking as much now because of school again. But she's still last year, because she has a cottage license, she can actually sell her baking goods to the public. She could bring to school things that usually you can only bring store-bought things, but because she has a cottage license, she can, bring it to school events and things.
Wow.
And she has sold her famous brownies to her friends. So she brings it and sells it to them in school. Maybe she shouldn't be doing that, but she does. When they order it, she'll bake it at night and bring it in, or bake it first thing in the morning, get up early. But, she baked all day. I mean, my kitchen for years was up. Incredible. She's a really good baker. She's been baking with me since she was 2 years old. But it was, I would just give her the ingredients, and I have a video in my blog that she's like 2 years old, and she's got the little hand mixer, and she's baking, and I'm giving her stuff. She puts it in and bakes. And then she loves brownies, so I used to give her the box brownie, and she would make that. Mm-hmm. Well, after she started watching the shows, she was not satisfied with making box brownies because they don't taste as good. So she started making real brownies and real this and real that. And she's done. She has a page, Dairy Girl Delights, on Facebook. Oh. And we're not offering a lot now. We're not really advertising because she doesn't have time anymore for that. But she's done wedding cakes and lots of different things.
Yeah, no, I've seen some beautiful cakes on Facebook.
So between the basketball that she's been doing, because the 4th grade in school, she started basketball, which she would have done even homeschool, because in Minnesota, you can do sports for the school. So the next year, she still played basketball for school, traveling team, and she's been doing since then. So it's between bovines, basketball, and baking. She's really busy.
The 3 B's.
Yes, she's really, really busy all these years.
Yeah.
So those are her main interests, in reading and now a lot of social things, being with her friends.
Yeah. So you talked about that a little bit. She chose to go back to school part-time last year. And then this school year, she's gone back full-time, right? For grade 8.
Yes. So last year, go ahead. You want to share?
I was just going to ask, if you could share the motivation behind that choice and how you felt about it.
Yes. So she's been playing basketball very seriously since 4th grade. I mean, every year it gets more and more, and she's played AAU. So she's a all year long player. She does several leagues. Yeah. And she started playing a lot in the summer with on the summer 3-on-3 and other tournaments with some girls from Stewartville. That's the other school district. So we are in the Byron school district. We're almost to the line of Stewartville. So we're in between physically, but it's still in the Byron district. But it's open enrollment here. But for you to play for the school, you have to be, as a homeschooler, you have to be in the district. So she can play for Byron without going to school as a homeschooler all the way to graduation. But if she wanted to play for Stewartville, she would have to be enrolled in Stewartville, even if it's for a little bit. But she started playing with some girls from Stewartville. They both teams are really good, but she really liked the girls from Stewartville and became friends with them. And she really wanted to hang out with them. So she said, and she wanted to be in the school with them, not just at the tournament. And she just was becoming very social, wanting to be with with friends and do things and more independent. Before she was always with me, and then just becoming a teenager, an outgoing teenager. And she asked to go, and she told me and her dad, and I said, are you sure? Because, are you sure if you don't want to stay in Byron, you don't have to go to school. You might join Stewartville, and then you might not like it after a little bit, and you might quit, and then you can't play for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to be, and she's like, no, I want to go. I said, okay, well, let's enroll her. So we went to school, enrolled her half day. And that was enough. She picked the classes she wanted with a counselor. And they're very open, very happy to have her. Wonderful, just like Byron was. And she started going. After the first semester, she added 2 more classes. So she was going 6 periods instead of 4. And she said all along, well, next year I'll go full time. Mm-hmm. So this year she enrolled full time. She's happy. She really, and she's now at school. She was a lot of hours, but I had to go pick her up and bring her back to practice last year. So this year she stays in school so many hours because they go from 7:50 in the morning. She likes to be there at 7 until she's done with practice, at least 5:30 in the afternoon. Oh, wow. She's with her friends, and she spent the summer going to the pool and doing things with her friends. So she's getting all that social that, unfortunately, I could not provide as a homeschooler where we are. And it might have been able if I lived in a town that was bigger and had more homeschooling kids that had the same interests as her. That's the thing. It's the same interest. Yeah. It's not just friends. She has friends. She weren't like I was. We actually do still 4-H, and she did Girl Scouts. She had friends from school, basketball friends, but she wanted to just be with them, and they were not the same interests in other friends. And the cow show friends, they only get together during the cow show things. And all, because they're all from different schools and different areas and different cities. So she wanted that. That's her biggest motivation.
Yeah.
Was to be with friends, and she's enjoying.
Yeah, because her overriding interest being basketball, right? Yes. That is where that sport is, right? To participate, you're with a school, and she found a group of kids that she enjoys even more than your local system, right? So it's worth it to her.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Exactly, right?
That she wanted to be with those kids, and
no, that's cool. That's cool. So that actually leads us very nicely into our next question, because the last time when we spoke about her going to school, you talked about how you continued to weave your unschooling principles into your days, even while she was at school, because still it is a really different experience when they're choosing to go to school, right? When she knows she can leave, and when you or the parent is continuing to choose connection rather than control in our parenting. Like, we're not shifting the kind of parent we are just because they're choosing to go to school. So I was just hoping you could talk about that. Have you been able to continue with that type of atmosphere for your family?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Amazing how my experience is so much better. I hear from the other parents punishing their kids. These are wonderful girls that I know that, they're great girls. They do well in school, do sports. They're busy. They're good girls. They constantly have their phones taken, or they can't do this, or they can't do that because their parents are punishing them for little things. And they're, I'm not doing any of it. This morning, for example, she's playing tennis this fall, first time. She's loving tennis. She's loving the girls' tennis. The coaches are wonderful. There's a lot of social in tennis because they play the match, but there's a lot of social, and that part is making her really happy to hang out with those kids and do this and do that together. So she wasn't feeling very good last night after the match. And this morning I went to wake her up and she's like, I don't know, I have a sore throat this morning. I said, well, let me know, because do you want to call in? And she said, I don't know. I said, Gigi, remember, you might have to catch up on your things if you don't go. But if you're not feeling good, just let me know. And not even 5 minutes later, she was getting dressed to go. It's her choice. Mm-hmm. I know parents will push and say, well, unless you have a fever, because I hear that all the time, you're going. But she's making her decisions. She probably thought, oh man, I have a test today. She had a math test today. Then I'm going to have to catch up and all that. I'd rather go. Mm-hmm. And I said, if you don't feel good later, just go to the nurse and they can call me and I can pick you up. But I have done no pushing. I only present her with, when she comes and says something about a class or a teacher or how bored she was, I said, well, there's a lot of time wasted in school because, she picks up things really fast. Yeah. And I said, when I was in school and I was, that same thing happened to me. I chose to doodle or read my book under the table. Just so I didn't create anything. The teacher thought I was paying attention because it's kind of rude, so they don't feel bad. But it's something that I present to her as an experience and as the choices. Mm-hmm. And she's going to make her decisions. And the consequences are going to be what's going to be. I have not pressured her for good grades or anything. I joke with her. I said, oh, my God, Gigi, you got a B+. That's terrible. That's so bad. I can't believe that. So there's, joking, but it's completely different. Choosing to go, she does what she's set out to do.
Well, yeah, because she knows not going is always a choice, right?
It is. She completely knows. Whenever she wants, she can.
Exactly.
She can decide not to.
She, every time when there's something that's boring or annoying or she's not feeling well, she's weighing up all those things together with what she's also getting out of it. So she's weighing the pros.
Is it worth it or not?
Exactly. Which is, an amazing skill and ability to bring with you forward into life all the time, right? That's what our days are all about, right? All our possibilities.
Yes.
What we want to accomplish, even if it's going to be annoying. It's the same thing when they talk about unschoolers not being able to make decisions because they always got to choose what they want to do, or they'll never make hard decisions in hard choice.
Oh, no, that's not what I see at all.
No.
You get a girl that went to 4th grade for 6 months, not even that. And now she goes in at 12. She's 13 now. And she's making all her decisions. She's carrying on with things she's never had to. Mm-hmm. And keep it, and like she was worried about math. She kept saying, and if you remember from last podcast, she was genius Gigi in math. Yes. Her teacher loved her and said she was wonderful. And she was a little worried about math because she hasn't done nothing like formal school.
Yeah.
And I said, Gigi, no big deal. It's, you start, if you want somebody to explain to you, either I'll explain or I can ask my neighbor that is a math graduate, and she's like, oh, it's easy. She was worried. And then she's like, no, it's easy. And the couple of times she needed something that she didn't know that she needed from before, she asked a friend that was good in math. And they told her, and she's sailing through it so far. I know it's only been 3 weeks, but she's got a few grades, and they're all, A's so far, and like just last year. And I know that grades is not important. It doesn't matter if she's getting C's and just passing, so she could stay in basketball because she knows she has to have a minimum to stay in basketball, it would have been fine. But she's doing her stuff that she likes, and she likes to do well. So it's great. Yeah. I mean, you would think that she needed all those years of math, because everybody's so scared of math. And there's a kid that never had anything on fractions, and she's doing, pre-algebra with no problems. And actually in 4th grade, she asked me what algebra was, the X thing. And I said, I kind of explained really simple. Like, if I have 5 of this and I needed to find out how many I needed for that, that's how it works. The X is that number you're trying to find out. Oh, so she picked up right away. So the understanding of why is more important, because the numbers, you just work and use them and they're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find
a lot of kids don't see the why they need that. What is the X?
That's exactly
for
it.
them.
She's been doing so much, critical thinking through life and understanding all those pieces, make sense to her, so that when you go in and it's more of just of the formal notation and the rules for manipulating the notation and stuff, that's actually the easy side to pick up, right?
Absolutely. One of the things that I just remember.
Yeah.
I just remembered that makes a difference between somebody that wants to go to school and somebody that does not. I went to one of the parent-teacher meetings last year, and her English teacher said to me, I guess they change English. Oh, no, that's right. So she didn't do English. She added English in January for the second semester. Mm-hmm. She hadn't done English at all. So so I went to the first parent-teacher meeting and met the teacher, and he said that she was a fabulous writer. Oh my God, she's such a great writer. And you know what is the best? Is she doesn't do just the minimum. She doesn't just, she's, and I know she's a good writer because she's been writing fan fiction since she was 8 years old.
Yeah.
So I've read some of her things and I was like, oh my God, I can't write that now. and he was in awe, and he said to me, whatever you were doing worked. I just want to stay out of her way. And I was, wow, that's a great teacher that she got, because that's it. I said, that's exactly what I did. I just stayed out of her way.
Right.
Because he said, whatever you're doing, I don't want to mess up. I just stay out of her way. I said, that's exactly what I did. I completely stayed out of her way. Much more than you can imagine, right?
Right. I'm glad you remember that. That's a really interesting little tidbit, isn't it?
Yeah, that she didn't do just the minimum.
Yeah. And that was
the big difference.
Yeah, when she's there, right? Right now, she, like you said, she's wanting to do these things. She's throwing herself into them. She's enjoying them. She's doing them for her own reasons, right? And
sure.
And she's getting those grades and everything. And maybe her what the things that she wants to do will change over time. Maybe.
Absolutely.
You'll see whether or not, the time that she's investing is really what she's discovering, right? And what she's getting out of it. So at some point, maybe she won't want to invest that much time in studying or doing those things, whatever. But she knows it's all her choice, and she's getting, I would say reward, but it's not a reward as in external rewards, right? She's seeing those grades, external rewards, but she's still making the choice. Like, that's not going to drive her, or she may discover. I remember another guest at one point talked about how when she went to high school, eventually she started to play around with and wonder whether or not, things had shifted and she was more externally, looking. But that's all learning about themselves, right? Because it's still a choice. And
and she did a little bit of that last year, because in one of her classes, she went down that her final grade was B+, and she had A's, and then she's like, oh, I don't care about it, so I didn't do that that much. But I have to say she's a little lucky that she does well naturally. She has probably the kind of personality and learning style, whatever you want to call, that makes school easy.
It meshes with it. Yeah.
She's not one of those kids that need to work really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps.
Yeah.
Because she can, pay attention, pretty much like I did. Pay attention. Okay, got it. I'm going to do my social thing right here.
Exactly. I mean, because that's all part of the choice too. If she didn't mesh so well with that system, that she may not make that choice moving forward,
no,
right?
She might have just tried the 6 months and gone again.
Exactly. So it is that back to unschooling again, back to being so individual. It doesn't, just because Gigi's enjoying it and doing well doesn't mean, oh, geez, lots of unschooling kids should try it. It is all about, the individual and them making choices and knowing themselves and what they're trying to accomplish, like her with her basketball, all that kind of stuff is what makes every single decision and choice unique for each person, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a very individual.
Yeah.
But going back to the point of, still staying with the unschooling principles in our home, it has completely worked because we already have a strong relationship built for all those years. So nothing has changed. I still look at school as a choice and an interest, whatever the interest is, social or playing sports. It's still something I'm supporting.
Mm-hmm.
So it was easy. I think when she went to 4th grade, I was a lot more worried and anxious about the experience. And this time I was like, okay, you sure you want to go? Fine. Mm-hmm. I was completely at ease with her choice to try again and go again. And as another, interest that an unschooling kid would have.
Yeah.
She wanted that experience for, like I said, for whatever reason, let's support that. And there's no reason for me to change and have, she knows that if she goes to bed late, which she does, because she's kind of, but she makes her choices. She's going to be tired but it's her choice to go to school. So she's not a kid that you're pushing to go to sleep early because they're going to be tired. And then they're going to say, oh, I don't want to go because I'm tired, or I'm not feeling good because I'm tired. She will make the choices to do it or not do it. And they're going to be okay with me because the consequences are hers. And it's her goal. She's the one going for it, and I'm just supporting that. So it has not made it any harder. I thought it might have been. I actually, it's been really easy.
Yeah, well,
it's been really easy.
Okay, so let's shift.
I don't even ask her if she did homework or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's hear a little bit about what Daniel's been up to these last 3 years. So when we spoke, he was interested in traveling to Japan and maybe part of an exchange program. You guys were looking into that stuff at the time. So I was hoping you could share with us a little bit of an update about what he's been up to.
So when he was 14, the summer he was going to turn 15. Mm-hmm. So he's 17 now. So it's 3 years ago. Can't even remember. But I've been looking for things for him to go because he really wanted to go to Japan and he really wanted to go and maybe study in a high school. But that's a lot more complicated. So I found through a Japanese friend that lives in the United States, that her sister works in a school that teaches English to Japanese kids and Japanese to American and Australian, whatever kids in the summers. So it's like a month experience, and you stay with a family and you go and you do the course. Well, we got everything ready, and the day he was leaving, he woke up with the worst, probably the flu. He was really, 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 really sick. I mean, he was miserable. Mm-hmm. And that's not something you can change, that kind of, going there. And I said, well, you're going to miss if you don't go. So he chose to go because really it's going to be, so he went very sick, went to the family. And then it's a very long flight, arrived there on Saturday, and Sunday they go to their family, and Monday they start classes. And by Wednesday, he got along with the family great. No problem. Liked it, enjoyed it. They enjoyed each other. The kids really liked him. He's really good with kids. They were a little younger than he was, but he did not like the classes. He did not like the kids. He did not like the classes. He called me and he said, do you want to try? He tried another couple of days. And by the weekend, he said, no, I'm still not feeling good. I want to come home. And I said, are you sure? And he's like, yes. You don't want to wait a little bit? And the family wanted for him to wait a little bit, but he was ready to come home. And he flew back. Mm-hmm. And, there was this 14-year-old kid that flew out to the side of the world and stayed a week with the family in Japan, taking the subway. He got lost one day. in Tokyo, it's huge. For him, it was an hour from his home to the class in downtown Tokyo and back. It was a great experience. He did it. He managed to do it. The family said they were very impressed by his willingness to try the different foods, and he ate live octopus, and he enjoyed it, and he bought things, and he came back, and he was very happy with it. Although I don't know if he feels like it was a success or not. I feel it was a success, because which 14-year-old kid goes all the way to the other side of the world by himself and does that? And he has studied a little bit of Japanese after that, but his main thing for a few years was that he wants to be a physicist and so he's still, I guess that's his thing. Now lately, he's been really a daddy's boy again, loves daddy and everything with dad, goes for runs with dad. He's been helping his father in the farm. Every day he gets up and he goes and gets the cows in at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and helps his father. He has really mellowed out into a very soft spoken kid, really funny, really witty. He is my to-go kid when I go away and I have to leave all my foster kittens and all my house cats and animals. He takes care of them, feeds them, worries about them, asks every day, how are the kitties? How, gives them nicknames and checks on them for me. And I mean, he couldn't be a nicer kid. He's really nice. He does his thing. He's very smart. He knows a lot. But what you didn't know is that was it last year, the year before? He tried school for 3 days.
No.
Was that when Gigi decided to go to school? Was it last year? It was January, I believe. And he wanted to go and see how it was. So he went for like 3 days. And he did 2 classes or 3. One of them was history and one was algebra that he wanted to do because of the physics. Mm-hmm. And he was doing really good in algebra. I was algebra 2. He just jumped to algebra 2 and he was getting all the things. He got to one day. He's a very black and white kid sometimes. And there was something other than the algebra, the charts, he was getting all that thing. I cannot believe. He was like, oh yeah, this and this. I'm like, whoa, how can you get all that? You've never done anything. But he got it. There was something that he needed, some notation that he didn't know. So he was told the teacher, oh, I don't know this. So the teacher sent him to the catch-up class. Instead of taking the time and, let me see you after. And,
yeah.
Oh, you don't know.
Answering it.
Go to the to the catch-up class. The catch-up classes, no, they sit in a library and they do it on their own, like he would be doing it. And he's like, I would do that at home.
Yeah.
And he said that he liked the kids that were in the class because they were all working hard to understand. But he said in the catch-up class, there was only one kid working hard, and the other kids were all just talking about what drugs they were going to do or whatever. And he just did not like that. And in history, I heard when I said that he was going to come home, I talked to the counselor, and they were really wonderful too. She was like, oh my God, but his history teacher, she can't wait she's like, every day she can't wait to hear what he has to say, because he loves history. So he has a lot of things he has to say that he's learned from sometimes video games and interest on history. And she was going to be very disappointed that he left, but he's like, no, I'm done. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
He was done 3 days. He was done. He said, for me to do math that I can do at home, that was the main thing he wanted to try. I think he thought he was going to get there and he was going to learn so much, which he was learning, but it wasn't the idea he had. And he had the idea what school was, and that was enough for him.
Yeah.
But he's an introvert,
That's so cool.
It's a completely different personality.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really cool to hear the two stories side by side, right? Because neither one is right or wrong. That's not it at all, right? Back to it being the individual and what meshes. And I I loved his realization, like, I could do this at home, which is what he'd already been doing. That's how he got to that point in the first place, right?
Yeah, I guess he's been doing, because I don't even know. I guess he has, but that's, again, is a completely different way of seeing things. It's like he was there for that mission, not to socialize, not to, everybody's trying to get him to do theater, because one of the other things that he's been interested in is he dresses the way he dresses, and he has created some of his coats and jackets and bought vintage pieces and top hats. So he dresses a lot of the times when he goes out with me, people ask what costume he's wearing, and it's not a costume. That's his own style. And then some people take pictures and say, oh, I love it. That's wonderful. He has string bow tie, things that are just him. One of the pants he wears is a corduroy green pants skirt that is vintage.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes up to below the knee. It's very military, but it's actually a women's pants skirt.
Yeah.
But it looks really amazing on him. So he mixes all these things that are, and he loves it. So he did some sewing classes, and he did awesome on the sewing classes, because I said, you need to learn to sew. We have a wonderful seamstress, an artist really local, and she gives classes, and she's been doing his pieces that he creates. Yeah. And I said, it's getting expensive. So he went and did sewing lessons with her, and she was like amazed, because he picked up things like, so one of the things she said is hard for people. It's the invisible zipper. And she said, you have to do it this way or it doesn't work. So he went and did it his way and said, see, it works too. And she was like, whoa. Because I think he has such a mind that it's like, Yeah. So that was one of the things that he had been doing too. And it's still an interest of him. He says it's not an interest. It's just who he is. So it's not like he's creating things because fashion is an industry, as an interest, or costuming is an interest. It's just him. So when he was in school, they really, because he would go dressed in his outfits, and they were like, oh, you should do theater. You should be in charge of the theater costumes. You should. And it's like, he has like, no interest. It's just him. So that was another interest of his is his dress.
Yeah.
Things. he has all kinds of different things he wears that he puts together and makes an outfit. And it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he can be himself. And when he went to school, I was kind of worried about kids bullying him because of it. But it actually, because I think he feels confident about it, even though he's a very shy kid, you've met him, and introverted, he was fine. He made friends and people were really nice to him and nobody picked on him.
No.
The counselor was worried about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I worry about, but he was like, I
Sweet.
think it's different when the kid feels confident and is not used to bullying and I'm sure that passed on that he was not going to fall for any of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. And I did want to say, I loved his Japan experience as well. Like see that as a negative thing, just because one chose to cut the trip short, right? I mean,
no, absolutely.
I know. Yeah, that's what you said, and it definitely is. What a great learning experience, and he didn't need more time to figure out to get what he wanted out of it, and to say, I'm done with it. So that's awesome. I'm glad you guys arranged for him to get back.
I was really impressed. We had like conference calls with the school director, and because they were trying for him to stay. Mm-hmm. And he said, it's just not working for me.
Yeah.
And he was mature enough at 14 to say that was not working for him. He said, it wasn't working. I wasn't learning. I didn't care for the kids. So, I mean, not that would make a difference. I guess if it was the style of class that he liked, he would have stayed because he's done private lessons 2 hours and he loved them. Is just it wasn't working. Mm-hmm. And he was very confident saying that with directors and people, they're putting more pressure than I did. I just want to make sure he wasn't making a decision and would have regretted later. Yeah. But when he said several times, and then he said, no, he tried a couple of days more. Mm-hmm. To see, I said, you want to try sometimes, you wait a little bit and you feel better about it. And said, nope, didn't work.
Yeah, because he knew he could feel you were working with him, right? Yeah, he could feel you were working.
I hope so. Yeah, I think so.
Through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
It is a great learning take. He went and he made it and he decided not to, and he came back and he knows he can trust us to, respect that his opinion was valid, that was not working for him. Mm-hmm. And that's important.
Yeah.
Because it's bad when parents would, in this case, the kid comes back and they would be like, well, you should have stayed. You should have done that. We spent money.
If they treated it like a failure.
Yeah, absolutely. Treat it like a failure. Then he would probably feel I was a failure because I didn't do it. But he was in my book, is a success to go to Japan and do all that and decide on his own and be so certain and so mature to do it the right way. It's a success in my book.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I think you pretty much answered this a little bit earlier, but just in case you have any more to add, I just wanted to ask about how you're finding your days flowing now, weaving together unschooling Daniel and full-time school with Gigi. You mentioned, you're finding it pretty easy, eh?
It is because I don't have that. The principles are the same. Yes. So I'm not like being the school mom that most school kids have.
Yeah. My
son is 17, so he's pretty independent and pretty mellow and easygoing right now. I think if you have younger kids, might have been a little more busy. I mean, I'm super busy. Don't get me wrong. I'm super busy. I'm running around. Gigi does a lot of sports. Independent of school, should be doing all those sports. So it was busy before with sports, continues to be busy. But because there's not a competition between the kids, I'm treating one like a mainstream and not the other. that's not happening. There's not anything that, and maybe I'll even have more time for him, but he's so independent and does his thing and likes to do things with dad that I'm kind of like thrown to the side.
Well, yeah, it comes in seasons, doesn't it?
It does. It absolutely does.
Yeah,
it absolutely does. Yeah,
so,
I think so. Not changing the way I am as a mother.
Yeah,
continuing that to use unschooling principles. Although I have a school daughter, she's not in schooler anymore.
Yeah.
She is in school, and my son is still in school. But having the same connection and the same principles and parenting them the same way, really, has made it easy. Has made it very easy.
That's wonderful. Now, so for our last question, I'd love to know what has surprised you most about how unschooling has been unfolding in your life so far. Something you found surprising?
I think that when I started out unschooling, I'm sure I wanted to do better for my kids. I wanted them to grow, and it was all about how they would turn out, how they would learn. And in the end, I think, they've grown and developed, but I've changed a lot to better. I've become much more mindful about things that I say, how I am towards people, more accepting, even if I have different views, because I'm much more mindful than I was towards my husband, nicer. I think I always had my priorities straight, but I think they're tuned in a little bit more.
Yeah,
if I can say that. So I think I've grown a lot as a person, a lot more. I never thought that I was going to be the one growing so much, because I'm an older parent. I've had my son when I was 36 and my daughter when I was 40. So you think, I got all this life thing kind of figured out, and I'm like, I'm a better person.
Wow. I love that. I
think I'm a better person.
So true. I mean, for me as well, when we started, it was all about the kids, and, it continued, that unfolded beautifully, but what a surprise at the difference and the change it makes in us as people, right? Like, yes. We really have to grow into that role, don't we?
Yes, very, very much. I am absolutely not the same person I was. Not that I was not nice. I was all, but I am so much more mindful and clear about what my priorities and my goals, and much more focused and trying to be more joyful and see the beauty and the positive, not just in life, but in other people that I might not even relate to as well. I think I'm a better person.
That's amazing.
So that's surprising. I wasn't doing for me, but
yeah, right.
it has changed my whole life. I see things much more clear now.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today, Alex. It
was nice seeing you. It's been how many years since you've been here? Oh my God, 5? 5.
Yeah.
2014.
Wow. Yes.
Crazy.
Wow. It was a lot of fun.
I hope it helps the parent I hope this helps a parent. I know it has helped some parents that come to groups and ask about, my kid is it's choosing school. I'm afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Treat it as your support any other endeavor that your child wants. You don't need to change and become the school mom. Did you do your homework? You got to get to bed. You're not going to wake up. You can still be that unschooling parent, even if your child is not unschooling anymore. Those principles are principles that you can use in all your life, everywhere in your life. You can still use those principles, make your life better, even if your children choose to go to school and never go back to unschooling. Mm-hmm. You can have a better life. You can have more connection with your child.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Right. Because it still comes down to it being their choice. I know sometimes parents feel like, okay, well, if you're going to go to school, especially if you're feeling negative about it, then, you got to stay for the year, or you have to.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Keeping that.
Choices
open.
Are beautiful. Yeah. Choices are beautiful. And don't forget, when you are making a decision, you don't get caught into like, I have to. It's still your choice. You're choosing to act like that. You can choose to be a connected parent. You can choose to still be using principles as a parenting way of life, and not you don't have to be the
you don't have to change
parent.
Who you are, right?
You don't have to change. Yeah. You're still making choices. Give choice to your kids, and still think that you have choices, that you make them consciously.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we go, where can people connect with you online if they'd like to get?
I have an Unschooling Minnesota Facebook group for Minnesota unschoolers. It's not very busy, but people are very welcome to come and connect with other unschoolers or ask questions, and I can send them off. I post on Always Learn Radical Unschooling info online on Facebook, and sometimes on Unschooling Questions and Answers. I have been very busy lately to write a lot, but if you guys come and have questions about any of those things in either group, they always tag me and I will show up.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks very much. And I will put links to those groups in the show notes as well. Have a wonderful day, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.